that maybe the foundation of Charon was rotten and fetid and full of corruption, not only corruption of the flesh, but of the soul. That maybe the rocks the South was built upon were shifting and splitting like the stone Moses struck with his staff. But instead of water, only blood and ichor would come pouring forth. He might touch the scars on his face or his chest absent-mindedly and lock eyes with you and say in that harsh whisper that was now his speaking voice, "The South doesn't change. You can try to hide the past, but it comes back in ways worse than the way it was before. Terrible ways." He might sigh and look away and say, "The South doesn't change. Just the names and the dates and the faces. And sometimes, even those don't change, not really. Sometimes, it's the same day and the same faces waiting for you when you close your eyes. Waiting for you in the dark." 1. Titus woke up 5 minutes before his alarm went off at 7 a.m. and made himself a cup of coffee in the Keurig Darlene had gotten him last Christmas. At the time she'd given it to him, he thought it was an expensive gift for a relationship that was barely 4 months old. These days, Titus had to admit it was a damn good gift that he was grateful to have. He'd gotten her a bottle of perfume. He almost winced thinking back on it. If knowing your lover was a competition, Darlene was a gold medalist. Titus didn't even qualify for the bronze. Over the last 10 months, he'd forced himself to get exponentially better in the gift-giving department. Titus sipped his coffee. His last girlfriend before Darlene had said he was a great boyfriend, but was awful at relationships. He didn't dispute that assessment. Titus took another sip. He heard the stairs creak as his father made his way down to the kitchen. That mournful cry of ancient wood had gotten him and Marquise in trouble on more than one late Friday night, until Titus stopped staying out late and Marquise stopped coming home. "Hey, why you standing there in your boxes? Make me one of them there fancy cups out that machine," Albert Crown said. Titus watched his father limp over to the kitchen table and ease himself down into one of their vinyl-covered metal chairs that would drive a hipster interior designer mad with nouveau retro euphoria. It had been a year since his father's hip replacement, and Albert still walked with a studied caution. He stubbornly refused to use a cane, but Titus saw the way his smooth brown face twisted into tight Gordian knots when a rainstorm blew in off the bay, or when the temperature started to drop like a lead sinker. Albert Crown had made his living on that bay for 40 years, hauling in crab pots 6 days a week, 14 hours a day off the shore of Piney Island, on boats owned by folks who barely saw him as a man. No insurance, no 401k, but all those back-breaking days and the frugality of Titus's mother had allowed them to build a 3-bedroom house on Preach Neck Road. They were the only family, black or white, that had a house on an actual foundation. Envy had crossed the color lines and united their neighbors as the house rose from the forest of mobile homes that surrounded it like a rose among weeds. "When we retire, we can sit on the front step in matching rocking chairs and wave to Patsy Jones as she drives by rolling her eyes," Titus's mother Helen had told his father at the kitchen table one night during one of those rare weekends his father wasn't out gallivanting down at the watering hole or Grace's place. Titus put a cup in the Keurig, slid a pod in the filter, and set the timer. But like